Kenny Pickett, I need this dude out of Pittsburgh immediately. All right? He's not it. And you can blame Matt Canada's play calling all you want to for the reason why Kenny Pickett has looked as bad as what he's looked since he got drafted by Pittsburgh. But you can only blame Matt Canada so much when you got Kenny Pickett who's overthrowing wide open wide receivers on 5 to 6 yard crossing routes. Nearly every game that I've watched Kenny Pickett play this season, he's overthrown at least 3-4 wide receivers on slants, crossing routes, or out routes when they've been wide the hell open. And Deontay Johnson, he had a moment during this game when he got into it with the assistant coach on the coaching staff, and the players had to hold him back, and Mike Tomlin had to bring him over and talk to him to calm him down. These are the kind of frustrations that you have on your team when you have a trash quarterback. All right? Now, I like Kenny Pickett. This dude does seem like he puts in a lot of effort. He does put in a lot of time and commitment, but something isn't clicking. And eventually, you got to look at yourself in the mirror if you're Mike Tomlin and say, you know what? We made a mistake. We need to bench this dude because he's not it. And regardless of how you feel about Kenny Pickett and how good of a person he is, look, I like Kenny Pickett as a person. If I was to sit down with Kenny Pickett, I would have no problem drinking a whole bottle of Don Julio or Ciroc with him. He's the kind of person that he's good to have in the locker room because players like him. But being a likable player doesn't result to you being a good quarterback majority of the time. You still have to go out there and you have to be able to execute. And Kenny Pickett doesn't do a good job at that. And at this point, Kenny Pickett, it's safe to say that this dude is not a starting caliber QB. You can blame Matt Canada all you want to, but I'm not going to put Matt Canada at fault for Kenny Pickett not being able to hit open wide receivers when they're 5 to 6 yards down the field. You should at least be able to hit a 5-6 yard slant consistently, especially if the dude is wide open. This dude got outplayed by Dorian Thompson-Robinson, fam. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is a rookie quarterback who was a mid-round selection. And yet, Kenny Pickett barely was able to get over 100 yards passing. Now, we got to give a lot of props to how good the Browns defense has been, but Kenny Pickett has been putting up these pedestrian performances all season long. There has been no growth out of Kenny Pickett. Yes, Matt Canada is a big reason why Kenny Pickett isn't playing good, but even with a better offensive coordinator, you're going to need to find the next, Bruce Arians for Kenny Pickett to look like a serviceable quarterback in the league. Even if Pittsburgh were to have a better OC, Kenny Pickett wouldn't be no better than a top 23 quarterback in the league. I'd rather have Bryce Young over Kenny Pickett. I'd rather have Joshua Dobbs, Desmond Ridder, than having Kenny Pickett at the helm at QB. This dude just is not it. He doesn't really do a good job at reading defenses. He has a noodle arm. The only thing that makes Kenny Pickett a quarterback worth starting is that this dude is really scrappy. I give him that. I love a quarterback that plays through injuries, that's willing to put their body on the line. Kenny Pickett's best throw last week against the Cleveland Browns was that screen pass that he threw to Jaylen Warren. The only pass that Kenny Pickett knows how to throw with consistent accuracy is those damn screen passes. He'll throw those with accuracy all game long, but you ask him to throw a 6-yard crossing route to a wide open Deontay Johnson, he can't do it. You ask him to throw a consistent post route downfield to George Pickens, he doesn't have the arm strength to get it there. There's only so much blame that we can put on Matt Canada without realizing that this dude isn't it. And even with the better offensive coordinator when the Steelers get one, Kenny Pickett, he's not good enough to lead the Steelers to a Super Bowl. Let's not just focus on this season. Let's focus on the long-term implications of Kenny Pickett being the starting quarterback for Pittsburgh. Because you look at the AFC North, you got to go up against Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow twice every single season. Kenny Pickett isn't good enough to outdo those guys unless you just have the best roster in the NFL. And the Steelers have a really good team. But it's like you need a lot to be able to win a Super Bowl with a guy like Kenny Pickett. And I get tired of hearing this whole narrative about, man, you don't need to have a superstar quarterback to win a Super Bowl. The Ravens won the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. The 49ers went to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. They're winning with Brock Purdy. Let me tell you something. In the year 2023, if you don't have an elite quarterback, your chances of winning the Super Bowl are incredibly thin. Not everybody has a Kyle Shanahan or a 49ers caliber roster that can elevate the quarterback. You're playing in the fucking AFC, people. The majority of the NFL's best quarterbacks play in this conference. And you're not going to be able to make it out with the Kenny Pickett when you're in the playoffs and you got to go against Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, or CJ Stroud. Like, the people who continue to defend Kenny Pickett by saying he does need to be great for the Steelers to win it all, you're stuck in 2010, people. Wake up. We're in 2023. You need a great quarterback if you want to be able to be in the Super Bowl conversation. Prime example, the NFC. There's not a lot of elite quarterbacks in the NFC. The only elite quarterback in the NFC is Jalen Hurts. And then you got really good quarterbacks like Jared Goff and Brock Purdy. But guess who has the best record in the NFC right now? The Philadelphia Eagles. Guess who had the number one seed in the NFC last year? The Philadelphia Eagles. Guess who went to the Super Bowl last year? The Philadelphia Eagles. And a large reason for that is because Jalen Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You see, when you have a great quarterback, not only does he elevate the guy calling the plays, but he also makes the team better. And you also have somebody who you can believe in, who the team can rally behind. Nobody is rallying behind Kenny Pickett. The only reason the Steelers play so hard is because of Mike Tomlin being such a good coach. And the only reason why the Steelers can afford whiffing on Kenny Pickett, because most of the times when you whiff on the quarterback, it sets your franchise back 3 to 5 years, and 95% of the time, you miss on the quarterback in the first round, if you're a head coach, you're out of a job. The fact that Mike Tomlin is still able to have the Steelers in the thick of the playoff race is due to how good of a coach he is. And the fact that he can just find ways to win despite having garbage at quarterback. I like Kenny Pickett as a person. I don't want to make it seem like this is a personal assault on him. I'm only talking about Kenny Pickett, the player, because Kenny Pickett, the quarterback, is terrible. I don't get why so many people continue to make excuses out of excuses after excuses for this dude. Like, we get it. Matt Canada sucks. He blows. But instead of chanting, fire Matt Canada at games, we need to be chanting, bench Kenny Pickett and draft a new quarterback. Bruh. I pray to the football gods every night that Mike Tomlin doesn't give Kenny Pickett a third season. I'd rather go out there and trade up for a Caleb Williams, a Drake May, or hell, even a Bo Nix or Michael Penix. Give us one of those guys and I'll be satisfied, because Kenny Pickett is not the solution. Kenny Pickett with a better offensive coordinator, you'll be able to make it to the postseason with that. I'm not denying that the offensive coordinator, or the lack thereof of a good one, is holding back Kenny Pickett and is hurting his development. But people make it seem like Kenny Pickett with a better OC is going to go from arguably the worst quarterback in the NFL to one of the best in the league. That's not going to happen. Kenny Pickett, his potential coming out of Pitt, at best, was a top 16, top 17 quarterback. And you felt like that was good enough with the brand of football that the Steelers play. Leaning on great defense, being physical at the point of attack, and having a great rushing attack. But in today's age of the NFL, when it's a passing league, you need a great quarterback to be able to win. So Mike Tomlin, if you're watching this, I'm begging you, I'm pleading to you, please go out there and get another quarterback. Draft one. Hell, it would be my dream for Caleb Williams to be wearing the black and gold. I don't care about the character issues, man. I need some talent back there at quarterback. Kenny Pickett doesn't have it. The only thing this dude has is scrappiness. And I respect that. And Kenny Pickett It's so weird watching this dude play because he'll stink it up for the first 3 quarters, but then in the fourth quarter when the game is on the line, he plays his best football. We didn't see that against Cleveland, but that's been the story of Kenny Pickett's career. He'll play garbage for 3 quarters, and then he'll wake up for 4 quarters. The Steelers need a quarterback that can play good for a full game for the whole entire 60 minutes, and Kenny Pickett doesn't do that. The only thing he does better than Mitchell Trubisky and Mason Rudolph, and the reason why you can't bench Kenny Pickett is because he takes care of the football. Mitch Trubisky doesn't do that, and neither does Mason Rudolph. And with the style of football that the Steelers like to play, over-relying on their defense to carry the load and winning the field position battle on special teams, you can't afford turnovers. And that's something that Kenny Pickett does a really good job at doing. Taking care of the football, minimizing mistakes. But at the same time, even though he doesn't turn the football over, he doesn't do much for you offensively. He's not a great athlete. The only thing he has is scrappiness and toughness. And like I said, I respect that. But scrappiness and toughness doesn't win you championships. We went from Big Ben, a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest quarterbacks of this generation, to one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. You literally can make a legitimate argument about who's better, Kenny Pickett or Zach Wilson. I think you couldn't go wrong saying that Zach Wilson is just as bad as Kenny Pickett. I mean, I'd rather have Tommy DeVito than Kenny Pickett. How? Give me Sam Howell over Kenny Pickett. Sam Howell with Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, and a better offensive line and a competent coaching staff? There's no way you can't tell me the Steelers wouldn't be in contention for the 1 seat with Sam Howell. The Steelers don't need to have an insanely great quarterback to be a competitive football team or to be a playoff football team, but they definitely need a good one if they want to try to get their 7th Super Bowl. I've been a Steelers fan all my life. I've been a Steelers fan since 2009, people. And the most success that this team has had when I was in 3rd, 4th grade. I'm 21 years old now. And the closest that I've ever seen the Steelers come to winning a Super Bowl over the last couple of years was when we got blown the hell out by the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game. You know, I like Mike Tomlin as a coach. But at the same time, I want to be upset if we had a new guy in there. And a new quarterback especially. I mean, Kenny Pickett, this dude is not going to cut it as the franchise quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers when you're in a division that has Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. And although Deshaun Watson isn't what he used to be, he's still better than Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is a backup quarterback at best. And he could be a really good backup quarterback. But being a really good backup quarterback doesn't win you a Super Bowl. He ain't Nick Foles. Hell, I'd rather have Nick Foles than Kenny Pickett. Anybody else at this point, I'm willing to give a go other than Kenny Pickett. This dude just is not it. He's a good person. He seems like a nice guy, and I feel bad for him watching these post-game press conferences, and he has that sad look on his face. Like, this dude looked defeated in his post-game presser after they lost to the Browns 13-10. And I felt bad. And you know, people get on social media and they spew the whole sentiment about, man, these football players are more than just football players. They're humans too. They got emotions too. Okay, so what? You expect me to feel bad for a dude who's getting paid millions of dollars to throw a football and can't do that job at a high level? Save me the tears. Save me the tissues. I don't care. I want a dude who can go out there and get the job done. If I got paid $1 million to throw the football for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you guys would expect me to do that job at a high level. You see, Kenny Pickett, I don't want to hear no more excuses about Matt Canada holding him back. Matt Canada, he's not the solution. He's definitely part of the problem too. But let's not act like Kenny Pickett isn't part of the problem either. Both of these guys is a collective effort that's holding this team back. And with this team being as good as what it has been, in spite of a bad quarterback and a bad OC, imagine how good this team would be if you had a better quarterback and a better OC. This damn near could be a team that could win it all. Kenny Pickett, I'm out on this dude as a starting quarterback for the Steelers. I tried to give him a chance. You know, like when we drafted him, I never wanted him. You guys can go through my shorts and you guys can see that my reaction to drafting Kenny Pickett was not a good one. I was really disappointed. I really wanted Malik Willis. And although Malik Willis, he hasn't proven to be anything special neither, I would have loved to see him in the black and gold with the competent coaching staff. At least he has some athleticism. You can find ways to win with Malik Willis' athleticism. But, I mean, at the end of the day, this dude just isn't it. And I don't think it takes 3 to 4 years anymore to figure out when the guy you have at quarterback just isn't it. Even with the better OC. Kenny Pickett at best is a top 23 quarterback. That's not good enough to win you a championship. He isn't cut to be the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers for the foreseeable future.